Dunchbags, what's going on? It's Landon Remixes here, and today I'm going to count down the 50 greatest EDM songs of the 2010s. This is going to be my last video in my year and decade end countdown series that's been going on for the last few weeks, with electronic dance music being a largely single-fueled genre. It only makes sense that I would close off this series with a video talking about what in my opinion are the greatest songs of the decade. Of course, this list isn't definitive or anything like that. It's mostly subjective, but I did really try my best to put together and organize this list with a lot in mind, including influence, how iconic the songs are in the grand landscape of electronic dance music. I guess more than anything, I wanted this list to be representative of my taste in dance music this last decade, while also being balanced with what was popular, what was really hitting in the market. To make things completely fair, I have each artist on this list only appearing once, with a little bit of wiggle room when it comes to remixes and collaborations, though you really won't see that very often. It was very hard for me to slim this list down to just 50 songs. I even considered doing 100, but I think that would have just been too much for me to cover in a single video. So because of that, there are a lot of collaborations on this list, songs that I might not necessarily think are the best from a particular artist, but because they joined forces with another artist who I also wanted to put on this list, I just had to put that one on. Another thing that I wanted to note is that this list is going to be exclusively EDM, no IDM or ambient or anything in between, just like electronic influence stuff. It's going to be mainly music that you'd hear at festivals or nightclubs, house and its respective subgenres, trap, future bass, dubstep, stuff like that. And lastly, when it comes to the content of this list, there isn't going to be any Monster Cat music, period, because I plan on doing a video very similar to this when Monster Cat celebrates its 10-year anniversary next year. And one last thing before I get into this countdown, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Tommy from The Wonky Angle. We did a 50 essential electronic music albums and EPs of the 2010s video, and if you haven't watched that yet, I would strongly suggest you do. I'm going to have that video linked in the end card to check it out if you haven't yet. I also wanted to note really quick that this video is going to be formatted a little differently than my last few countdowns. I'm not going to have any cards or little previews of the songs. Because I'm talking about 50 different things, I'm going to be doing it very much rapid fire style. And yeah, I think that's about it. So without any more delay, let's get into my 50 greatest EDM songs of the 2010s. Kicking things off at number 50, how could I not include the man who was the richest DJ in the world for a good chunk of the last 10 years, Calvin Harris, with his second collaboration with Ellie Goulding off his Motion album, Outside, a really cool dance floor house tune which uniquely replaces a stereotypical lead synth with a violin. At number 49, I have progressive house icon Cascade with his song Atmosphere off of his 2013 album of the same name. Not necessarily his most memorable song of the last decade, but I'd like to think that this song definitely kickstarted this movement of EDM producers singing in their own music, thinking like, if Cascade can do it, why can't I too? At number 48, I have the breakout single from the former number one DJ in the world, Hardwell, Spaceman, an electro house tune with such an iconic melody that every future version of this song was completely overshadowed by it. At number 47, I have my absolute favorite song by the man who kickstarted the future house movement in the mid-2010s, Oliver Heldens, on his collaboration with Sean Frank and Delaney Jane, Shades of Grey. In my opinion, maybe the coolest and most unique future house tune I've ever laid ears on. At number 46, I have the very first bass house song I ever heard, and with that, one of Outlaw's most iconic releases, and a hugely influential track, Deep Down Low by Valentino Khan. At number 45, I have one of the most recognizable cuts from undeniably one of the most influential acts in electronic electronic music this decade, Collider by Noisia. At number 44, I have what is, in my opinion, Dioro's magnum opus, 5 Hours, which is a ridiculously fun and incredible electro house tune. And speaking of ridiculously fun electro house tunes, at number 43, I've got Cash Cash with Overtime. At number 42, I have The Glitch Mob with the title track off of my favorite multi-track project from the trio, We Can Make the World Stop, which is, in my opinion, one of their most engaging, compelling, and well put together pieces they've done throughout their entire career. At number 41, I have Danik's take on the career-defining single from Mako, Beam, which basically takes all the flaws that the original song had and completely removes them, just eradicates them, and an absolutely phenomenal lead melody to go with that. Clocking in at number 40, we have what is, in my opinion, the greatest song the Chainsmokers have ever assembled, Roses, featuring Roses. The Chainsmokers were far from the first act to do future bass, but I do acknowledge that this song played a massive role in giving the genre a marketable edge, was really one of the first songs to go mainstream in that genre. At number 39, I have one of the most vengeance-filled bro-step songs of the 2010s by one of the most talented audio engineers in that scene, Zomboy, with Immunity. And at number 38, I have maybe one of the most iconic dubstep songs of all time, the melodic I Can't Stop by Flux Pavilion. It's also worth noting that my very first EDM show was Flux Pavilion's Portland, Maine stop on the Freeway Tour in 2013, and this song just takes me back to that moment. At number 37, I have the lead single off of Tidy and Christopher Tin's collaborative album Collide, closing in with the Frampton, a beautiful tune that's pretty radio-friendly but also uniquely combines future bass and orchestral music. At number 36, I have progressive house and trance masterminds Above and Beyond with what many people would probably say is their most iconic song, Sun and Moon with Richard Bedford, a huge sing-along EDM track that you pretty much could not escape from for years and years and years. At number 35, I have a huge electro house song that saw two of the most distinctive names in festival dance music joining forces, Snails and Botneck with Kermit. And at number 34, I have another absolutely massive collaboration with RL Grime and What So Not joining forces to make one of the most melodic, atmospheric, and beautiful trap songs I've ever had the pleasure of listening to, Tell Me. At number 33, we've got a song that sees two very opposing sounds, classical and trap music, coming together in perfect harmony on Apache's Lacrimosa. And at number 32, I've got the song that ultimately opened me up to hybrid trap music to begin with, the masterfully produced Step 2 by Lax. At number 31, I've got a massive, melodic-tinged electro house collaboration from two of the best brains in early 2010s bass music, Kill the Noise and Feed Me, with Far Away. At number 30, I've got Virtual Riot, in my opinion, hitting the apex of his melodic dubstep sound with a phenomenal take on the Chainsmokers and Phoebe Ryan's All We Know. At least someone could make that song sound like a work of art. At number 29, I've got one of the most enduring names in brostep, Must Die, with one of his most insane tunes, period, Gem Shards. And at number 28, melodic dubstep has not been the same since Illenium released Afterlife with echoes off of his debut album, Ashes. My number 27 goes to a phenomenal piece of electro house that I feel like has not gotten enough love looking back at this last decade, and that is Selection by the Noisy Freaks, one of the only EDM songs to ever literally bring me to tears. At number 26, I've got what I would say is the most iconic and influential song in all of bass house dumb. It's the breakout single from Jaws, Feel the Volume. And at number 25, I've got what is, in my opinion, one of the easy standouts from Skrillex's early discography, seeing him team up with one of the best minds in electro house at the time, Wolfgang Gartner, on The Devil's Den, a song that's very tight and heavy, yet still super fun. At number 24, I've got the song that really paved the way for Deep House to make a huge comeback in the 2010s, and also featuring maybe Sam Smith's most iconic vocal, It's Latch by Disclosure. At number 23, I've got a song that does a really great job taking me back to a time when EDM was simpler yet still very emotionally impactful, and that is Alesso's remix of Pressure by Nadia Ali, Starkillers, and Alex Kenji. At number 22, we've got my top tune of 2019, and in my opinion, one of the coolest house songs we've been graced with over the last few years, Weeble Wobble by Eliminate. At number 21, I've got a song that really paved the way for a new, creative, yet melodic and emotional edge for electro house. It's the debut single from Madeon, Icarus. And at number 20, I've got an absolutely unbelievable remix of a tune that I had no idea could be improved upon. It's Feed Me's take on Strobe by Deadmau5. At number 19, I've got a song that seemed to serve as a light in the dark when EDM fans were just being completely inundated with big room tune after big room tune after big room tune. It's Runaway, You and I by Galantis. At number 18, I've got a song that kind of flipped the big room formula on its head, still using that very percussive, plinky type of sound and giving it a very cute and fun edge. It's Fox Stevenson with Sweets, aka Soda Pop. At number 17, I've got an absolutely massive collaboration between two huge artists and a song that you seem to not be able to get away from for a couple years. It's Secrets by Tiesto and Kashmir featuring Vasi. At number 16, I've got a super unique and emotional piece of electro house that was able to really put Pierce Fulton on the map to begin with. It's Kuaga. And at number 15, I have an absolutely iconic Grammy-winning remix from who is, in my opinion, the most influential EDM artist of the decade by far. It's Skrillex and Nero's remix of Nero's Promises. At number 14, I have the vocal version of a song that has, bar none, one of the most iconic melodies in electro house and really EDM at large. It's Sebastian Ingrosso, Tommy Trash, and John Martin with Reload. At number 13, I have the song that ultimately changed it all, the song that launched Big Room into the mainstream faster than a rocket ship. It's Martin Garrix with Animals, and despite having no vocal or anything like that to drive the song, this song just absolutely blew up seemingly overnight and launched Martin Garrix into stardom and really launched a wave of Big Room that was just unprecedented for really any other subset of EDM at the time, except maybe dubstep. But even then, I'd say Big Room went almost as mainstream and had a lot more people trying to master its craft. At number 12, I've got another absolute game changer with a remix from Flume that really put future bass on the map to begin with. It's his remix of You and Me by Disclosure featuring Eliza Doolittle. At number 11, I've got maybe my favorite bro step song ever, a song that's wild and eccentric and screechy, yet still beautiful and melodic at the same time. It's Bulletproof by Dr. P with Eva Simons. And kicking off my top 10, we've got what is, in my book, one of the greatest remixes I've ever had the pleasure of listening to. It's a remix of a pop song that completely sheds the song in a new light and has one of the most euphoric drops I've ever heard. It's Audion's remix of Pompeii by Bastille. At number 9, we've got, in my opinion, the pinnacle of all melodic dubstep, an emotional and powerful masterpiece, and really the standout original of this very influential artist's entire discography. it's Worlds Apart by Seven Lions featuring Curly. At number 8, I've got what I would probably say is my favorite song by deadmau5, and really, in my opinion, one of the greatest progressive house songs of all time. It's The Veld featuring Chris James, and I'm not talking about the wimpy radio edit or the 8-minute version that's on album title Goes Here. I'm talking the full original 12-minute version that's on the EP. At number 7, I've got one of Electro House's greatest earworms from one of the most popular names in electronic music this decade. It's Spectrum featuring Matthew Koma by Zed. And for my number 6, I'm going to go ahead and cheat a little bit by giving it to The Island by Pendulum, not part 1 Dawn or part 2 Dusk, but the cut of both of them together on the Immersion Deluxe Edition, a 9.5-minute electro house masterpiece with, in my opinion, one of the most iconic melodies in all of EDM. And kicking off my top 5, we've got a song that really didn't come out all that long ago, but I appreciate it more and more with every single passing listen, and it just takes me on an absolute journey every time I do get to listen to it. It's Emerald Rush by John Hopkins. Also, without a doubt, in my mind, one of the coolest, most unique, and emotional house tracks ever. And taking my number 4 spot, I've got a song that isn't necessarily my absolute favorite song by this artist, but I felt the most fitting for a list like this, and really his most iconic and memorable career-defining cut. It's Language by Porter Robinson. And at number 3, I've got a reggae-influenced drum step song that, in my book, really changed the game forever, especially in my own personal journey, really opened me up to bass music to begin with. And that song is Bonfire by Knife Party. At number 2, I've got a house song that at numerous points in this decade I have considered to be my favorite song of all time. I'm not sure if I'd quite put it there at this point, but it's definitely a song that's got me through some seriously tough times, and at the same time feel it's one of the most iconic songs in EDM, period. It's Don't You Worry Child, Swedish House Mafia featuring John Martin. And a lot of you are probably going to be able to guess my number 1. I've mentioned numerous times how this song was really my introduction into dance music to begin with, and really made me fall in love with the genre. With an absolutely iconic lead melody, it's simple yet effective, and pretty much a textbook definition earworm, featuring some great vocal sampling of Etta James as well. I would say this is my favorite progressive house song of all time, and maybe even EDM at large. Of course, I'm talking about Levels by Avicii, one of the greatest melodic artists of our time, really one of the most talented people in dance music, and gone way, way too soon. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind about this song being my number 1. It's truly something special. I guess more than anything, I'd just say you really don't know what you've got until it's gone. I thought we had so many more years to enjoy new pieces from Avicii for him to really top this song, and sadly this had to be the pinnacle. Nonetheless, I still absolutely adore it, and I imagine I will continue to do so for decades to come. Rest in peace, Tim. And that is going to do it for this countdown video and for my year and decade end lists in general. If you're itching to check out some of my picks for yourself, I'm going to have a Spotify playlist linked in the description that's going to have as much as possible in that playlist. Not everything that I picked is on Spotify, and yeah, I don't know, maybe that's my fault. But if you've made it this far in the video, make sure to let me know what your, 5 favorite EDM songs of the decade are down in the comment section below. If you're new to the channel and you want to see more content like it, make sure to consider hitting the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave me a like. Anyway, I'm Landon Remixes, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.